Hey, 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 everybody. Welcome back to Beer Time with Big Bird. Ivan, I see you in the chat, buddy. PPI 40-year high. That's right. We're going to be talking about fucking inflation today. You better believe it. Yeah, it's going to be super depressing and awesome at the same time. What am I talking about? Of course it is. But yeah, thank you everybody for joining me. Obviously, this is Beer Time with Big Bird, the once every week show where we ring in the weekend with a beer and we talk about the news, because that's what we do now on Beer Time with Big Bird, and it's awesome. Shout out to my boy Ivan in the chat. You be hanging out. CPI slowly hitting a plateau. Well, I mean, we hope, right? We got to hope. And also, it also depends, Ivan, and you know this, it depends on what kind of, how they group all of the different commodities together to create said CPI score. But before we get into all the lovely inflation news, we, of course, have to do it up proper and start the weekend off with a nice beer. I got this cool, like, special Elysian beer celebrating the Seahawks, which I think is, you know, football. Cool stuff. Joseph, what's up, buddy? Michelob Ultra tonight. Cheers. So, yeah, what is this? It's called Hawkitect. So we're, like, doing some architectural and obviously Seahawks stuff because it's fucking football season, which don't ask me about my fantasy football team because shit ain't great. Shit ain't great. We're probably going to talk about that tomorrow on the show a little bit because it's real depressing, man. I got one win so far this week or this season, and it wasn't even a pretty win, but I did get a win over my lovely co-host, who obviously is not here today. He's at home with his family, but I beat his ass. He's the only person I've played against this season that I've beat, and if there's going to be one victory that I'm going to have this season, I'm glad it was Donovan. All right, so this is a wheat beer that we're going to dive into today. Honestly, didn't even really care what kind of beer it was. I just saw the Seahawks thing. I was like, oh, that'll look cool on the stream. Let's do it. But, you know, I like beer. I don't really care what kind. Doesn't really smell real weedy. The typical live stream massive head, which is, you know, obviously our standard operating procedure. Woo! All right, I'm going to taste it. Chad, you tasted this beer already, right? Yeah? It's pretty good? You like it? My brother's sitting next to me for some reason. Yeah, no, that doesn't suck. It's like mild for a wheat beer. It kind of tastes kind of lagery, which is nice. Oh, but yeah. All right, so yeah, we didn't really bury the lead on this one. We're talking about inflation today. It's not good. The report that came out yesterday, I believe, the CPI numbers came out. Earlier in the week, we had the PPI numbers, which were not good either, so that's a thing. But we're going to be diving into some of the finer points of the report and kind of looking at some of the different areas that you're really, really getting screwed over, and then talking about if this inflation report was so bad, how bad the next one I'm assuming is going to be, and so on and so forth. So do we think the Fed is going to continue raising interest rates, Zeke asked. If so, how high will they go? How long will it take for us to see it take effect? Oh, bro, I'm definitely not an economist or have any respect for the Federal Reserve or their existence at all, but I'm going to go ahead and say they're going to have to raise rates still. I'm going to assume that the next one is going to still be another 0.75 basis points, as they've been doing, and I will see it probably continuing to do so until, you know, they tamp this bad boy down. And honestly, with all the things, we're going to get into some of like the different loose ends and the aspects of what is really fucking with inflation a lot as we go into today. And, you know, until some of those things could be mitigated, I don't know, man. But interest rates can't go high enough to dent the current inflation. That's what I would say, Joseph. I mean, you print 900 years worth of currency in a single month. I don't know how you come back from that, to be honest. But, you know, we'll get into it. But before we do any of that, I'm going to hit this button because it's cool. Woo, look at that. Like, comment, subscribe. Do all the things, boys. All right, I see y'all in the chat. I need the likes. Click the button. I know it's real hard for you to do, but you're going to do it because you appreciate what we do here at Salt the Streets. Speaking of Salt the Streets, episode 135 happening tomorrow right here, noon Pacific time. We're not quite into Pacific Standard Time yet. That happens in November. But it'll be really exciting when we do, so that way I can start saying Pacific Standard Time. But now it's Pacific Daylight Time, which is that's just a mouthful. I don't like saying that. But yeah, tomorrow, right here, noon, Dawn's coming in. We've got an amazing show packed for us, ready to go. We've got some local stories. We're going to be going over our little voter pamphlet and stuff. There's not too much happening in our local midterm, which is hilarious because these midterms are like the midterms to end all midterms. But we're going to go over that real quick. We've also going to be getting into the story that happened. It was a ransomware attack that happened in our local hospital, but it also is affecting like hospitals nationwide. And I didn't realize this, but as of today, they're still fucked. And so we've got an inside source that works at one of the hospitals that was kind of giving Donovan the down low on what's going on there. And it's pretty wild. So we're going to talk about that. I know there's other stuff in the locals thing we're going to be talking about, but I don't give too much away. Plus, I can't remember off the top of my head. And then Donovan is taking on, he's going to be running the lead on the January 6th / Oath Keeper segment that we're going to be doing that we talked about doing last week. But all that stuff's finally kicked off. And if you guys have been paying attention, the Jan 6 season 3 single episode that we had this year was it was capped off by the subpoena of Donald J. Trump in a very dramatic fashion. So we're going to be going over all that goodness. He's at home right now, cramming for that, rewatching that entire thing for you so that you don't have to do that. It's going to be fantastic. And then I'm going to be talking a lot about what happened with PayPal over the last week and their ridiculous concept that they accidentally leaked, quote unquote, this idea that they were going to be charging their people a fee of like $2,500 in their PayPal accounts for spreading misinformation, and then immediately withdrew it, this, that, and the other thing. It's not good. It's real bad. But then, of course, I think tied to that, it's related to this lovely thing we see happening in corporate America these days called ESG, environmental social governance. So we're going to be diving into some of that, and of course, why all these people are so obsessed with climate change, the World Economic Forum. It's like a whole deal. It's going to be a great topic. We're going to do that, and of course, we have a fantastic grab bag to reach into, because obviously those two subjects are not the only two big subjects in the news, and so we're just going to save the rest of it as a surprise. Oh, what's up, Cat? How you doing? Please don't mess anything up while you're up here. Come on. We're live. Don't be messing around, kitty cat. I got a beer in my hand, and I'm talking in a microphone. All right. Oi. Get down there, kitty cat. All right. So without any further ado, let's start talking about inflation. But before we do that, Joe said interest rates can't go. Oh, yeah, we did that one. 30% would take decades if the printer shut down yesterday, which obviously the printer still go burr, baby. The printer still go burr. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what the highest interest rates have ever been, but I hear stories from like from my elders, if you will, that, you know, back when they were buying houses and shit, it was like at like 20-some% back in the day, or 15-18% back in the day. But also that's when houses cost $50,000. So I don't know how you equate all that to this insane era where, you know, the median house, like the small house, costs, you know, $350,000 to $450,000, which who's making that kind of money? But anyways, let's go ahead, let's hit the button, and let's bring up the first story. This is coming from NBC News. Inflation holds grip on the U.S. economy as September rate hits 8.2%. High prices remain top of mind. Top of mind, bro. Top of mind. I am so tired of hearing that fucking saying. I can't even begin to explain this to you. Ever since fucking KJP, Cream Jean-Pierre, said that thing when Biden accidentally was looking for the dead representative the other day, was it a few weeks ago, and during the press conferences she was, she was top of mind. I'm pretty sure nobody has ever said that ever in the history of everybody. But now I hear it every single day, multiple times a day. So either the Hadron Collider kicked off and we live in an alternate universe where everybody has just always said this and I've never paid attention to it whatsoever, but it's killing me to see it every day now. Anyways, high prices remain top of mind for many Americans in the last quarter of the year, marked by across-the-board volatility in food, gasoline, and energy costs. Yeah, amen. The annual U.S. inflation rate was little changed last month, hitting 8.2% year over year, compared with August 8.3% reading, as the pace of price increases remain at multi-decade highs, causing pain for many households. High prices for food, shelter, and medical care sent the Consumer Price Index for September up by 0.4% compared to August 0.1%, according to the data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics released Thursday morning, which we will get into that report as we go on. Markets opened lower following the news as investors tried to gauge how the Federal Reserve would respond. How would they respond? Under Jimmy Carter, 20% in 1980. What's up, Joseph? That's huge. 20%. Yeah, I was looking at, I was like, what is the highest the interest rates have ever been, or no, inflation's ever been in America? And it was around 20% was, I think, one of the highest. So that seems awesome. I'm glad we're getting there. Yep. Inflation remains at the top of Americans' minds going into the last quarter of the year across the board. Yeah, we already read that. That's good. Okay. We're moving on. Let's take a look at some of the categories here. So this is from Trading Economics. Annual inflation rate, U.S. slowed for the third month, running at 8.2% in September of 2022, the lowest in 7 months compared to 8.3% in August, but above market forecast of 8.1%. The energy index, 19.8%, below 23.8% in August due to gasoline, fuel oil, and electricity. Excuse me. A small slowdown was also seen in the cost of food. Yeah, of course. Okay. So we'll get into that a little bit later, because obviously when we start talking about how energy costs are concerned, how kind of everything fluctuates with that as well, because obviously, I mean, it's that simple. I mean, everything takes diesel and gasoline to get all the other goods to market. So of course, if those are up, everything else is going to go up too. Obviously, everything from the farm equipment that plants the fucking food and harvests the fucking food and makes the energy to process the fucking food, to get delivered to the store, to get to your, I mean, everything is reliant on the energy index. Almost everything. So of course it's going to go up. So let's see here. This is a nice little chart here that just kind of shows the general pace of inflation since last October. And obviously, yeah, the massive kick in from 6, and then in June, that was the highest at 9.1. I remember those. Those days were rough, man. Some of the broad categories here, the core inflation rate at 6.6%, the core consumer prices. Yeah, we don't want to do export prices, import prices, food inflation. These are all kind of categorical percentages that have gone up and down. 19.8% is the energy inflation. Service inflation is also going up pretty high too. We're going to look into that as we get more into the nitty gritty as things go on. Joseph said they also changed the inflation metrics about the same time, so we have no idea what the current inflation rate would actually be. Amen, brother. Do you mean the government and the Fed are lying to us about how terrible they're running everything? No way. I refuse to believe it. These institutions have our best interests in mind. So this is the tiny breakdown from the actual Bureau of Labor Statistics core price index, the CPI report. I was like, what does CPI stand for again? It's core price index. That's right. Preach, Joseph. Preach it. Preach. All right. So all items, everything up, obviously 8.2 from last September to this September. Food is up in total 11.2%. Cereals and bakery goods 13. Look at that. Cereal and cereal products 16.2 alone. Flour, bro. I've become the bagel king recently over this week. I've been making some New York style bagels to try to relive what I really, really loved about New York City when I lived there. And I'm born to make New York style bagels, and it's fantastic. But the price of flour is killing me. It's not good, bro. It's not good. It's up 17.7% since last year, man. I remember when it used to be like relatively affordable. I mean, during first like lockdown times, everybody ran out and bought, flour and yeast and was like trying to make their own bread and do all this shit. And I couldn't find yeast anywhere because all the stores were sold out of yeast. But I did buy a bunch of flour, and it was as cheap as it ever used to be. But now it's fucking expensive, even for the cheap shit. Let's see here. Meat, poultry, 9%. That's a lot, man. I mean, all your things. Let's see. Pork, 6.7%. Breakfast sausage. Oh, yeah. Well, obviously that stuff's going to be more expensive because there's so much more processing that goes into that stuff. So, yeah, all your breakfast sausage, bacon, all that stuff is, 14.7% more expensive than it was last year. Let's see. Poultry. Chicken's always a big one. 17.2%, man. 17.2% for chicken. That is insane. Seafood. A reasonable 8% gain. Look at that. Look at that. Eggs. I mean, chicken might only be up 17, but eggs are 30.5% up. And if you're one of those people that like to get into your bougie eggs, them shits are they're like $10 a dozen now, man. Those really nice farm raised, non-salmonella, the ones you can eat raw and not have to worry about your factory farming salmonella. Yeah, those things are stupid expensive. But even like your big bulk, white bleached processed eggs are still way more expensive than they used to be. Milk also up big time. Food just across the board is massive. What is this one? Other dairy products, 20.8%. Produce, 10%. 10% for fruits and vegetables across the board. All produce. That's nuts. Nuts. I wonder if there's nuts on here. I bet them things go up. Peanut butter, 11.2%. That's a lot. Good Lord. Well, there's a lot involved with peanuts. What am I looking for? I want to try to find, let's see if we can find maybe I can search it. Control F this bad boy. Tobacco. Control F. Tobacco. No, we're not finding it? Oh, great. Maybe I spelled it wrong. We'll find it. We'll find it. I saw it earlier. Footwear. Let's look at some apparel here. Apparel, 5.5%. So, on the whole, when you're thinking about essentials and non-essentials, if you got clothes on your back right now, then you're probably all right. But for those people that have kids, you're looking at a 5% increase from last year overall. And that's not in counting. Vehicles. Vehicles are always a big one. New cars, 10.5%. And that's if you can find them, because obviously chip shortage and supply chain issues, so on and so forth. I mean, if you can find new cars, they're at least 10% more than they used to be, which when you're buying a high-ticket item, that shit's real big. Pet products, also real big. I have 3 dogs and a cat. I mean, just buying animal food now, I mean, you're going broke, man. And what about you small-time backyard farmers with your chickens and your pigs and your goats and stuff? All that stuff, those costs have gone up too. Everything's going up. Everything's going up. I wanted to try to find the sin products. There we go. Alcohol beverages. 4.1% increase. Look at that. We're coming in on the bottom line. I like that. Beer, 4.5%. It's not too shabby. When you look at we're under the mean here. We're under the average to enjoy our Friday night beers. Everything else might be going up at 8.4%, but hey, our beers are only 4.5% higher. Tobacco, 8.2, 8.4. Tobacco products and other cigarettes, 6.8%. Good Lord, man. Now, the other big ticket items are shelter. So, rent and shelter costs. I don't know how you really factor that in other than just like the broadest kind of grouping of I don't know, certified landlords, if you will, like the landlords that are part of like state associations and licensed and what like that. Or, you know, when you're looking at the big cities and shit like that, where everything has to be logged and reported to the city or the state or all that stuff, you're up 6.5%, which that's a lot of fucking money when you really think about it, man. Because obviously you're not getting a 6.5% raise in your job. And even then, core inflation has already, made you lose your raise. So boom, you might have gotten a 3% raise or a 5% raise, but your rent went up 6.6%, along with everything else in your fucking life that's going up. Great. Let's see here. Let's take a look at how much did postage go up? Postage and delivery service, 4.3%. Fuck you, postage. Goddamn, federal government, you suck at everything. All right, let's take it. So that's like the nitty-gritty version of that. We took a look at that. Let's look at the big picture stuff. They have energy costs, the big ones here. Now, this is a different report, different layout, but the unadjusted percentage there from September last year to September this year. Fuel oil being the big one, 58.1% higher than it was last year. Mind you, that is for September. That is not now. If you all noticed, fuel prices are once again through the fucking roof. So if we think we were on a good tilt for fuel over the last couple months, because we were in a better place than we were a year ago. Not really, actually, because it was up 58%. What am I talking about? Before all this shit went sideways, it wasn't. Oh my God, how can I put this? Fuel oil is bad. Gas is super fucking expensive, and we all know it. But it's been nothing compared to what we've seen over like the last 3 weeks. We're back up to just the highest levels like we've seen. I know there's like a national gasoline average price and all this stuff, but if you live in a communist run state like I have here, my diesel's now $6 a gallon. If you're lucky, if you can find it. I mean, there's one place I think I passed today where it's under $6, but it's pretty standard now. We're back up to $6, which is, I remember not even a month ago, I filled up for $3.99 a gallon, which was magical. And there are a couple places it stayed actually below the price of regular gasoline for a long time, and I was super, super happy to be riding around in diesel when every single gas station I passed, diesel was lower than gas, and I was like, fuck you people. What are you doing, cat? Get out of my business. Playing with the light. Getting harder and harder, and definite between pessimistic and realistic thinkers. Yeah, man. Shit's getting rough out there. Boys. Plus, hey, we got World War III to look forward to. So yeah, core inflation, not good. The PPI was up even higher than that, if I recall, and I think Ivan or Zeke, I think one of you guys said that earlier. Yeah, Ivan said PPI 40-year high. CPI also 40-year high. We made the threshold for the 40-year, so that's cool. Now this I wanted to get into here. This is an AP point, and we're going to read a little bit of this, and then we're going to stop, because I think one of the key issues they're missing on when they're trying to sell everybody on why inflation is so bad. So from the AP, as the causes of U.S. inflation grow, so do the dangers. Washington, I'm pretty sure they mean D.C. What keeps driving inflation so high? The answer, it seems, is nearly everything. Supply chain snarls and part shortages inflated the cost of factory goods when the economy rocketed out of the pandemic recession 2 years ago. I didn't think there was a recession. Oh, wait. No, we're still in recession. We can't say that. We were in a recession, but then as soon as Biden got into office, we weren't in a recession anymore, because Biden is recession-proof. I forgot about that. Then it was a surge in consumer spending fueled by federal stimulus checks. Yes, that's exactly what happened. Everybody went out and just blew their couple $1,000s they got from the government. Then Russia invasion of Ukraine disrupted gas and food supplies and sent those prices skyward. Actually, none of that was even necessary. None of this stuff, we didn't have to do that. We were energy independent as far as LNG went during the Trump administration. I think we talked about it on the show. We were a net exporter at that point for the first time in history. But then all of a sudden, as soon as that kicked off, we've been running our strategic petroleum reserves down to, I think we're below half at this point, last time I checked, which is, of course, that's not good. And let's see. Since March, the Federal Reserve has been aggressively raising interest rates to try to cool the price spike. So far, there's little sign of progress. Yeah, obviously. Thursday's report on consumer price index came in hotter than expected, even as some previously big drivers of inflation, gas prices, used cars, fell for the third straight month. That's not gonna be the same way next month. But notice in their opening statement when they're talking about all these different things that are contributing to why inflation is so bad, they neglected to talk about the $6 trillion they printed out. Because that would have something to do with it. The fact that we just printed more, I heard the statistic somewhere earlier today, but it was the amount of money we printed in 2020 was essentially equivalent to 900 years worth of printing at the previous pace that we had been printing money. So yeah, you print off 900 years worth of currency and then just flood the market with it instantly because it doesn't even have to come hot off the presses anymore. It's all just fucking ones and zeros. Yeah, no shit there's going to be runaway inflation, you dumb fucks. All of a sudden your dollar is worth that much less. Man, 40 years because they changed the metrics back. Yep, we did that one. Ivan, don't forget the dollar milkshake theory. Just maybe might have something to do with it. Is that the dollar milkshake theory, Ivan, where we just make milkshakes out of all the dollars? Because, yeah, that's the fucking reason. If you know anything about base currency economics, of course, printing $9 trillion fucking dollars is going to devalue your currency. You can hide it for a little while if you don't have anything to tie your dollar to, like we don't, other than oil. Oh, look at that. But yeah, now that oil's back skyrocketing, I highly doubt our lovely plateau of inflation is going to continue. I really don't think that's going to happen. But we won't know until middle of November. And then we can, by then the fucking midterms are over. So who really gives a shit, right? Oh, it's not good. Now, this is the last story I want to talk about before we carry on with our weekends, because I got more show prep to do for tomorrow's epic podcast. This comes from the New York Times, and I just wanted to, this was done yesterday. And I wanted to point this out because we're going to read just a little bit of it, and you will soon find out why our betters over at the New York Times are completely and utterly incompetent. Let's read, see if you can catch where the problem is. Gas prices fall slightly, but overall energy costs are soon expected to rise. I can read. An increase in energy prices could complicate the Federal Reserve's campaign to tame inflation. Gas prices fell in September, helping to bring overall inflation down slightly on an annual basis, but those falling prices are not enough to offset month-over-month inflation, which rose 0.4% in September. It remains unclear whether gas prices will continue to fall. Prices at the pump have fluctuated after coming down for a record high this summer. Did you catch where she has no idea what gas prices are at? All she did was read the fucking inflation report. But if you look outside in October, where we live in reality, you'll realize that gas prices have skyrocketed all the way back up. Oh man, it's not, these people are totally and utterly incompetent. And this is why you should not listen to them. It's also why you should hit the like button, subscribe, do all the things. It's awesome. Tell your friends about it. It's awesome. Joseph says, no, it's a measurement of the dollar versus other world currency. Ooh, because all the other world currencies are essentially tied to our dollar, right? Because we are the funder of everybody's. That's why when we rise, the world rises. If we fall, the world falls. Something like that. Yeah, because OPEC Plus now is doing their own fucking thing. We'll talk about that more tomorrow with that whole fiasco. And Quid Pro Joe doing his thing. Not getting impeached for it, obviously, because, why would we do that? But yeah, that's the inflation rant today. I'm very upset. And obviously, with the skyrocketing fuel prices around again. Come on, cat, you're killing me. Inflation is only going to continue to rise because fuel affects everything. Not to mention the big, what was that? The big freight union contract win that Biden flouted a couple weeks ago, and everybody was all excited. We averted the railway shutdown and all that stuff. That's all bullshit, because one of the unions, when they were actually voting on it, decided not to pass it, and they have to vote unanimously or whatever. So we could still be looking at a massive freight strike, which is going to completely cripple the entire economy, which is not going to help inflation. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm so glad I have a beer to drink with you people today. We need it, because I got to do some more refreshing about ESG, World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, and that makes for a fun-filled night. And if you don't have a couple beers to drink while you're getting into that, I don't know how you're going to handle that. But we're going to get into that tomorrow. Once again, episode 135, Salt the Streets, right here, noontime. I hope to see each and every one of you here. I got some more beers for Donovan. We got some more kind of cool things to help kind of boost the stream's fanciness, which should be kind of fun to play with tomorrow. And yeah, let's do that. See you all back here tomorrow at noon.